Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. When I was 9, I found out my mom was having an affair. My dad was in the military and away for long stretches of time, so my mom had plenty of time alone. I'd overhear her talking on the phone, saying things to another man that didn't sound like conversations a married woman should be having. Sometimes I'd see them together, laughing or holding hands, which made me feel scared and uncomfortable. I was too young to fully understand what I was seeing, but I knew it wasn't right. I kept it to myself because I was terrified of what might happen if I said anything. I didn't want to be the reason my family fell apart. But when I was 12, everything came to a head. One evening, I saw my dad sitting alone, looking at old family pictures. He had tears in his eyes, which broke my heart. He was trying to hide his emotions, but I could see he was hurting. Seeing him like that, I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I felt like he deserved to know the truth, even if it hurt him, so I told him about my mom's affair. He looked shattered, and the memory of that moment still haunts me. Things happened quickly after that. My parents separated, and my dad got custody of me because my mother blamed me for divorce and wanted nothing to do with me. Life changed a lot after the divorce. I moved in with my dad full-time, and eventually he remarried. My stepmom is wonderful, and she treats me like her own daughter. I also gained a stepsister, and we get along well. Our house became a place of warmth and stability, and I felt closer to my dad than ever. My relationship with my mom, however, became strained. She blamed me for ruining our family, even though I knew I was just the messenger. However, there was one person who really never accepted me as part of the family: my grandpa, my dad's father. He's very traditional, and once he learned about my mom's affair, he became suspicious about whether I was truly his biological granddaughter. He's been pressuring my dad for years to get a paternity test for me. He claims that if he's going to leave an inheritance, he needs to be sure it's going to real family. For years, my dad stood up for me, refusing to get the test. He always said that it didn't matter whether I was biologically his or not. I was his daughter no matter what. I can't explain how much that meant to me. Knowing that my dad didn't question my place in his life made me feel secure and valued. But recently, things shifted. My stepmom is now expecting a baby, and I'll soon have a half-sibling. I'm genuinely happy for my dad and stepmom, but the news seems to have changed my dad's stance on the paternity test. He mentioned he was worried about my future, especially with college expenses coming up, and if I'm not biologically related to Grandpa, I might miss out on any financial support. Grandpa has a large property, a big house, and what sounds like a significant amount of money, though I don't know the full details. While I've never cared about money, I understand that college is expensive, and my dad just wants to make sure I'm taken care of. It felt strange to even consider the test. I know my dad has good intentions, but something about taking a DNA test feels like I was being asked to prove I belonged in the family. I can't help but think back to the night when I told my dad about my mom's affair. If I just kept quiet, maybe none of this would be happening. Maybe we wouldn't be questioning my place in the family. I was only trying to help my dad, but now I feel like that choice is coming back to haunt me. Eventually, after much thought, I agreed to the test. My dad seemed relieved, and I thought that maybe if we could put Grandpa's doubts to rest, it would be worth it. We did the test, and last week we got the results. The test confirmed my worst fear. I'm not my dad's biological daughter. When I saw the results, I felt like my whole world fell apart. Deep down, I'd always worried that this might be the case, but seeing it confirmed was like a punch in the gut. My dad hugged me and told me it didn't change anything, that I was still his daughter, no matter what. I believed him, but there's a tension between us now that wasn't there before. I think he's struggling to process the news, even if he doesn't want to show it. Then Grandpa found out, and things got even worse. As I feared, he told my dad that he was writing me out of his will. He said he couldn't justify leaving anything to someone who wasn't truly family. It felt like I was being erased, like everything I'd built with my dad's family meant nothing. I feel as if my entire place in the family has been reduced to a genetic test, and because I didn't pass, I'm being cast aside. I can't shake the guilt. I keep thinking back to when I told my dad about the affair, wondering if I've ruined my own life with that choice. If I'd stayed silent, maybe we'd still be a family without these doubts. Maybe my dad wouldn't even consider the test, and we wouldn't be dealing with this fallout. I feel responsible for everything that's happened since, even though I know logically it's not my fault. The guilt is eating me up inside. Since the results came out, I've noticed small changes in how my dad acts. He's still kind and supportive, but there's a heaviness in his interactions with me. With a new baby on the way, I'm scared that he'll gradually start to see me differently, even if he doesn't want to. I feel like I'm slowly being edged out of a family I thought I belonged to, and it's tearing me apart. My stepmom has been very supportive, trying to reassure me that nothing will change, but I can tell she's worried too. She knows how close my dad and I are, and I think she's afraid of how this revelation might affect our family dynamic. It feels like there's this unspoken tension hanging over all of us, and I don't know how to make it go away. Am I an a-hole for revealing my mother's affair and ruining our family? OP was a child who witnessed something devastating and made a choice that felt right in the moment to protect her dad. This isn't OP's fault. It's OP's mom's betrayal that set everything in motion. OP's dad clearly loves OP, and even though things feel tense now, I believe he'll come around. Sometimes people just need time to process difficult news. And now let's hear the community's opinion. I'm so sorry you're going through this. The pain and guilt you're carrying must feel unbearable, but please know that you're not to blame. You were doing what you thought was best. Your dad is lucky to have a daughter who cares so deeply. Don't let the negativity from your grandfather define your place in your family. Biology isn't what makes a family. Love does. If you're feeling like things are slipping, it might be helpful to have an honest conversation with your dad and stepmom. Let them know exactly how this has made you feel. Sometimes people don't realize how their actions are affecting others, and if moving out feels like the right choice, maybe try a gradual approach, like staying with friends or family to give yourself some time to process. Your grandfather's behavior is appalling. The fact that he would write you off over something you had zero control over says more about him than it does about you. You deserve so much better than being judged by a blood test. Stay strong, OP. Your dad's love for you is real, and you don't need a paternity test to prove that. Update. After a lot of sleepless nights and difficult conversations, I've come to a painful realization. I don't think things will ever go back to the way they were. Since the DNA results came out, I can feel that I'm being treated differently, even if my dad and stepmom don't want to admit it. Grandpa has fully cut me off, and while I wasn't expecting his support, knowing that I'll never be considered part of the family in his eyes has left a deep wound. Recently, I tried opening up to my dad about how all of this has made me feel, and I admitted something I hadn't told him before. I regret telling him about my mom's affair. I told him that, as a kid, I thought I was doing the right thing. But now, with everything that's happened, I wish I'd kept it to myself. I could see the hurt in his eyes when I said it, and he looked like he wanted to reassure me. But we both just sat there in silence. I didn't know what else to say, and he seemed to be processing my words. Since then, my dad has seemed even more distant. He's been focusing on my stepmom's pregnancy, which I understand, but it feels like I'm slowly being edged out. Our once easy conversations feel forced now, and there's a tension that I don't know how to break. He insists that he still sees me as his daughter, but it's hard not to feel like something fundamental has shifted between us. I'm thinking about moving out sooner than I'd planned. I'm saving up for my part-time job and looking at options near my college. Part of me thinks that putting some physical distance between us might help ease the tension and give us both a chance to process everything in our own ways. I don't want to lose my relationship with my dad, but staying here and watching this distance grow is slowly breaking me. To start this, I'm just going to say that my fiancé and I aren't getting married for another 2 years because of virus and dysfunction with travel for both of our out-of-state families. We've set the wedding out 2 years on purpose, but have started with all the planning anyway. I'm meticulous, and he's a perfectionist, so we're wanting things to go off without a hitch if possible. Recently, we were discussing our guest list, so we could get a between count of people attending. We're expecting between 40 and 100 people, but we're trying to be thorough in all aspects. My younger sister, whom I have never had a good relationship with in the entirety of our lives, knows about our wedding, and she is very, very entitled. I've got plenty of stories about her and the parents she gets her entitlement from. She called a few days ago to give me an update on her life and the drama surrounding herself and asking for money. Yet again. I pretended to listen and only said, "Oh yeah? Huh. To her about everything. She then brings up casual conversation topics like, "How are you? How's my niece doing?" etc., etc. Then she drops the question, "Sister, so where am I in the line as your bridesmaid?" Me, confused because I never said she was one. "You're not a bridesmaid. I have my older sister, close friend, as my maid of honor, fiance's friend's wife, because we are friends and I like her, and sister-in-law. We aren't doing a large wedding party because we don't have a large friend group, and we aren't into big affairs anyway." Sister, "But you're supposed to have your sisters as your bridesmaids. It's traditional." Me, "Maybe so somewhere else, but not in my life or my wedding. I have who I have, and I'm not making it bigger or replacing one of them with you." I state this over and over throughout the conversation because she won't take no for an answer. I finally get fed up with the whole lot and tell at her, "It doesn't matter. Fiance and I don't want you at the wedding anyway, so drop it." Remember the entitlement from earlier? Sister, "If you don't invite me to your wedding or make me a bridesmaid, I'll ruin your wedding. Your wedding day is just as much about me as it is about you, and I will be there. Besides, if you don't, I'll just tell Mom, and she'll make you do it." She then hangs up and proceeded to call our mom. My mom calls me and tells me what the sister told her, all lies by the way, and said that I shouldn't go back on my promise of her bridesmaid position or wedding invitation, that we are family, and I shouldn't turn my back on her like that. It's affected my mom differently than I assumed it would. I'm already standing firm on not letting my sister come, but my problem lies with my mother and myself. I don't want her to be angry or upset. I don't want her to decide not to come because of this. 2 years is still a bit away, and things may calm down, but my sister will hold a grudge as long as she needs to get her way, even years if it needs it. I love my mom and I want her there. We've already been virtual dress shopping for her mother of the bride dress. She has a place in the wedding party and ceremony, and it would break my heart if she didn't come because of my sister. I just don't know what to do, and I don't know how to handle this. I just got my relationship with her back into something good for us both, and I'm beyond happy she's back in my life. I couldn't take it if we were to break apart again. Screw her. Just hire security and show her pictures so they keep her out. Send her an invite to a wrong place and wrong date. But in all seriousness, your sister sucks. Do you have a person that can back you up? Like a person that doesn't mind being that B? 'Cause in a case like this, I would love a wedding planner by my side. They're mean to who they have to be. Honestly, since it's 2 years out, don't uninvite her completely yet. Even though it's your day and money, it's going to cause a giant rift in your family and mar the experience either way, honestly. However, definitely do not let her into the wedding party. You are in no way obligated to do that. She can come as a family member or not come at all, but do not make her a bridesmaid or seat her at the wedding party table. Tell your mom you never promised her she could be a bridesmaid and she will not be one. You guys have a bad relationship, and it would be unfair of your mom to force you to ruin your wedding by spending all that time with her. Might as well tell your sister now that she's not a bridesmaid because of your horrific relationship, and she's not worth ruining your wedding for, but that she's welcome to come as a family guest, like everyone else, or not come at all. After that, make sure you don't share any of the details of the planning with close family. Your mom might tell her venue, times, photographer, bridal boutique info, etc. And if sister is crazy enough, she may really sabotage with any information she can get. Update. As I stated before, the wedding is 2 years away and things may settle or change, but given what has happened in the last week, I don't believe it will. So as of around Thursday last week, my mom thought it best to have a conference call with my sister and I. I've disowned and stopped talking to her entirely, to help resolve the issue we have in hopes of trying to repair our relationship. We started the conversation by me explaining, very calmly, because losing my head wouldn't solve anything, to my sister why I was upset at what she said, why she assumed she had given herself priority in a matter that didn't and doesn't have to concern her. Once I finished speaking, my mom asked my sister to speak her piece, and that's when all hell broke loose. She started screaming about how it was right and that nothing and no one was going to stand in the way of her special day. Called my mom a bee for not siding with her and making me give her what she wants, and how she'll never forgive us. Then hung up. It's only been 4 days, but she has refused contact with me and my mom. Badmouths us to any family member, friend, and even stranger who will listen. My mom and I spent a couple hours on the phone taking turns crying for various reasons. But she told me she was sorry she doubted me, even for just a moment. I wasn't mad at her. I was upset that it got to her the way it did. Things are settling day by day, and we aren't focused on anything but the present for now. Our wedding will proceed as planned, but for now, I promised my mom that unless it concerns her directly, that I would avoid wedding talk so we can keep the peace better until closer to the date. If she and my sister reconcile, that's one thing. But I expressed my displeasure at her and her actions, and said that unless she cleans up her act and can contain and control herself better, I won't be contacting her under any circumstances for the foreseeable future. And I know a lot of you saw me as a bridezilla, or too prideful or egotistical, and I know I let my anger get the better of me, because my sister knows which buttons to push to set me off. But I can say for certain that she has always been this way her whole life, and not just to me. She expects things without earning them, assume without confirmation, and thinks the world owes her a favor because she draws breath. She has even outright said that when she wants something, no matter what it may be, she will get it. At the cost of relationships, friendships, etc., it will be hers one way or another. I met my husband almost 12 years ago. When we met, I had been divorced for almost 5 years, and my kids at that point were 11, 9, and 8. Literally from the day we met, he and I have been inseparable. Over the course of 3 months, I introduced him to my kids and slowly worked him into our lives. He is an amazing man. He stepped up and took on the role of stepdad to 3 kids who didn't have a male role model at all. Their dad disappeared after we got divorced. If someone asks one of my kids what their dad's name is, they name their stepdad. We have a really nice life together, have raised all 3 kids to be smart, healthy, mature, amazing people. We live in a nice house, have good jobs, yada yada yada. Here's the issue. My husband's family resents that when he met me, he took on the job of being a dad to my kids, and that we decided that we didn't want any more kids. Over the years, we have gotten together for holidays with his family. His parents were at our wedding. We visit on birthdays and barbecues and such. But they are never overly friendly or kind to me or the kids. They have 2 daughters as well, and each sister has kids. At Christmas, his parents go out of their way to buy gifts that are very expensive for each of the grandkids, which we would not know about save the fact that they insist on bragging about how much they spend on each kid. They have never given any of my kids a gift for any occasion, which my kids don't care about because they aren't those kinds of kids. But I feel like on Christmas, you could have acknowledged 3 kids that your son has decided to raise by at least giving them a card or something. They do bring a gift for my husband, and we always have gifts for them. There are little jabs thrown here and there, like saying to my husband, "It's a shame you never got to have any kids of your own." And we explain that that wasn't something we weren't interested in. Thankfully, they don't say stuff like that around the kids. We live 25 miles from them, and they are in their 60s, so they don't show up at our house often. It's not like we spend tons of time together, and there has never been a falling out or any major drama. They are just sort of there in the background. We see them maybe 6 times a year for 2 hours at a time. This year for Christmas, all 3 kids were coming home, so we invited his parents as well and thought we would get everyone together and try to have a nice time. The kids all showed up and opened their presents. We cleaned the wrapping mess up, and the kids set the big dining room table with plates and silverware, and we made it look super festive. His parents showed up about 30 minutes later, walk in and hug him, take off their coats, and go into the den that is open into the kitchen and sit down and start watching TV. They said nothing to the kids, even though all 3 kids were very friendly to them when they walked in. My kids shrug it off, and the 3 of them, my oldest son's wife and my daughter's boyfriend, all stay in the living room, dining room, talking and having a good time and helping me finish dinner. When we announce that dinner is ready, everyone grabs a plate. It was a buffet-style deal, and heads for the food. The kids and my husband and I wait for his parents to serve themselves because manners. And his mom says, Where are we sitting? I say, we set the big table in the dining room, plenty of seating there, and they both go back into the den and sit down in recliners to eat. I say, is that going to be comfortable sitting like that to eat? And his mom replies all snarky, we won't spill anything if that's what you're worried about. I was absolutely not worried about them spilling. I genuinely thought they would be uncomfortable holding plates while trying to eat. I glanced at my husband, who shrugged his shoulders at me. All the kids got their food and went to sit at the big table, and my husband walks up to me and I whisper, what do we do here? I don't want to sit in the den and eat. I want to eat with the kids. It's Christmas for duck's sake. And my husband replies with, well, screw them. Let's sit with the kids. So we went into the dining room and sat with the kids and had a really good time. About 5 minutes after having polished off their food, the parents announce, we're going to head home. It's a long ride. And they grab their stuff and leave. The morning of the 26th, I get a message from my daughter asking if the in-laws were mad at them or something and wondering why they didn't sit with us. I tell my husband about this, and he says, yeah, they were really disrespectful to not sit in the dining room with everyone else. I'm really disappointed in them, and doesn't say anything else about it until about 6 hours later, when he says, I don't think we should invite them for Christmas anymore. They were really rude, and then changed the subject and went on with his day. To be very honest, I don't know these people very well, and even though I have tried to be nice and include them and reach out to them, it is obvious they don't want to deal with me or my kids. And that's fine, I guess. But without knowing them very well, it is hard to decipher if they are being rude on purpose or if they are just clueless about their behavior. I'm hoping that people here could give me their opinion about this situation. Yeah, they definitely know what they're doing. As has been said already, I just stop inviting them for now and see how they react. All that'll happen is they stop coming to your gatherings being rude and negative, or they decide they want to make an effort and do so. To be honest, I don't think they're clueless about their behavior. They very well know what they're doing if they're buying gifts for the other kids but not your own, and then coming to your house and being disrespectful. I've seen a lot of people in their 60s and up do this in my culture, and I've heard other people talk about how their in-laws don't treat them nicely. It really could be because your kids aren't your husband's biological kids, hence not blood related to the in-laws. They probably don't feel obligated to show affection because they aren't biologically related. It does suck, especially for the kids, because your kids are asking if they are disliked by the in-laws, even though they didn't do anything. I would suggest just keeping them away on family functions and not inviting them because it doesn't really seem like they care. And maybe if they see they're not being invited anymore, they'll think about their actions and behavior. I would also suggest your husband ask them about why they do it, and set it straight with them that it's disrespectful. I, 28 female, and my fiancé, 34 male, are extremely close. We've been dating for 3 years and engaged for 1. I guess the main part of this post is about my relationship with the kids, and why I really don't want them to attend. First of all, I've been planning this wedding since I was 15. I saw it in a big oak barn, which luckily his family owns, covered in a modern yet rustic type look. Some recent decisions are Belle Isle for the band, and I'd sing a song out of my vows. When we got engaged, we basically decided it would be quite a drunk wedding for after the ceremony, and it would basically be a cocktail, wine, anything alcohol-obsessed theme, as neither of us ever really get to let loose. Plus, my future father-in-law offered to pay for all the drinks. My biggest problem is the kids, though. I wanted to marry a man, regardless if he had kids or not, and I've actually grown close with his children. He has 14 female, 10 male, 7 male, and 6 female. My bond with the eldest is mostly a sisterly type relationship, as we're not that big a gap in age. And her mother, she's pretty close with me. With the wedding in 5 months, we've made a lot of changes and are discussing our guests. We need to send out invites in 2 weeks. When he asked me where the kids would be, I basically asked him if he would be okay having them at the after party and ceremony, as there would be tons of people, and his 7-year-old has ADHD and isn't great at staying quiet at the moment. Plus, his youngest is going through a clingy stage where he needs to be held by a parent, or she'll start moaning and whining. I suggested having a kid-free wedding, and he told me if it made me uncomfortable, only his eldest kids would be at the ceremony, and his other kids could hang out with their mother and watch it on Skype or go to a cafe with their mom. I agreed, but first we called his ex over. Naturally, she is not invited to the wedding, and I won't be letting her come as she's quite spiteful towards me. She hated this idea and said that this was her only break as she has to take care of the kids all day. She then said the only way she would look after them is if she could come to the wedding and relax with a small glass of wine and a book during the ceremony. It sounded like she wouldn't even look after them that way, and I'm not taking chances. I told her no, and she persisted in saying she ain't taking care of them. To my surprise, my fiancé agreed she could come, even though we agreed on the opposite, and I told him no. He said to stop being petty, and he would actually like to have all his kids at the wedding, and if not the ceremony, the after party with all the drunk people. I basically, rudely, no kids in the room, told them they were all pathetic and rude, and that the day wasn't about his ex or his kids. And even though I do love his children, I can't have the youngest there. It led to a big fight, and now his ex and all their families are against me, telling me it's not a big deal and to stop being such a jerk. Am I the a-hole? Yes, the a-hole. They're his children. The wedding isn't just about you. If he wants his children there, they get to be there. Yes, the a-hole. You don't sound ready to be married or mature enough to be a step-parent.